It is time for a new racing season. What? That's not good enough for you? Okay, well then, it's time for 2 new racing seasons. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 1 of a Premier Racing League, a GT Amateur Series, live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Reese Gardiner. Behind the scenes we have Joe Peake in the director's chair, and he's using camera sets provided to us by Dougie Beard. Now, one thing that's unique about the Premier Racing League is that even though we have a double header lined up for you tonight, they're taking place at 2 completely different circuits. Road Atlanta will be coming up for you later, but for now, let's take a look at Summit Point.
Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track. Welcome to Summit Point Raceway. Once the stomping grounds of IMSA and Trans Am vehicles thundering through the West Virginia mountains, this circuit is now mainly used for club racing and performance driver training. Situationed a couple hours west of Washington, D.C., there are actually 2 entirely separate circuits that can be tackled here on the iRacing service. The main circuit is just shy of 2 miles in length, including 10 turns, and can be chopped off into the short version, which has 9 turns and only 1.5 miles for a lap. The Jefferson Circuit is its own 1.1 mile piece of pavement with a mere 7 turns and uniquely can be run in reverse. Both tracks are astonishingly narrow and provide quite a technical challenge. On the main course, the most popular place to pass is down into the first corner hairpin. While some drivers may try a brave dive into turn 5, the frighteningly fast-kinked entry makes it prone to things going wrong quickly. Between there and turn 9, it's essentially a single-file affair with nothing but tight and twisty bends snaking their way around. The Jefferson Circuit isn't used as often, and because there are a few straights long enough to get a run on someone, most drivers are forced to wait for a mistake to pounce on. Otherwise, qualifying will be key. Believe it or not, IMSA's GT class raced here in the late 80s, and even Can-Am stopped in back in 86. While it probably sees much more competition here in the virtual world, it's easy to see why plenty of real drivers love to take their vehicles out to try and tackle this historic Appalachian venue.
Well, we're going all around America. Here's Summit Point, latest Road Atlanta, and you even got a look at Road America too. But we're starting tonight with Summit Point. Reese, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this track?
It's a fantastic circuit, Sam. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. Only 10 turns around this only 2-mile circuit. And turn 1, that hairpin at the end of the front straight, is the only real great passing opportunity around here. You can certainly put one up the inside in the middle sector, up the top of the screen with that double hairpin section, but it's going to be difficult. And the curbs are very high around here as well. So the drivers are going to have to take care out there today. We got 35 minutes of racing coming up very soon.
35 minutes of racing coming up after 10 minutes of qualifying, and also we have a few sponsors that help make this broadcast possible. One of them tonight that helps our broadcast is brought to you by ASR, Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. Tonight's broadcast is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebutkicker.com. Tonight's event is also brought to you by SimMSA, Simulation Motorsports Affinity, which provides many consulting services from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at simsa.net. And finally, the PRL GT series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Well, we don't have any championship slides for you, of course, because everyone's even on points. This is a brand new racing series. Everyone has 0 points. And so, Reese, what are these drivers up against for this new season?
Well, as we mentioned just before, Sam, it is 10 minutes of qualifying, which the drivers are in now, a 35-minute race with a fixed setup. And as you can see, the drivers are going to have to look out for incident points here. They've got to be very careful not to get too many off tracks or hit too many cars, because they'll be out of the race very shortly. And of course, they get a bonus point for the fastest lap, for pole position, and for 3 incidents or less. It's going to be very interesting here at Summit Point today. A field of Ferrari 488 GT3 Evos, one of the newest cars to be added to the iRacing service, an upgrade of the old Ferrari 488 GT3. And looks good, sounds good, drives good as well. The drivers look to be having a lot of fun out there in the qualifying session at the moment.
Yeah, they do indeed. Every driver's got the track to himself. How new is this car? Well, if you're a commentator for the series and you didn't get the memo that it was a new Ferrari, you may have had to have paid for this car just a few moments ago before the broadcast. But here we go. All these drivers are having plenty of fun out there, I'm sure, as we watch Jonathan Rager coming through the final turn to set his first lap on the board.
Indeed. Let's see what the time ends up being. It looks like he's actually starting. Oh no, actually, he has finished the lap there. And straight to provisional pole on a 107.622. It's fastest time in practice, a 107 flat, so there's more pace in that. They only get 4 laps over these 10 minutes to set a time, and it looks like Jonathan's backed off ever so slightly here, just to get his other time in, as Alec Bergstrom goes to P4, Lawson Christie to P14, Barry Cochran goes up to P16. The times are absolutely flowing in at the moment with just 7 minutes to go, but this track is nice and short, so the drivers should be able to get all their laps in.
I think Joe put Charles Sumner on the screen because he knows I love orange race cars. They always stand out. And I wish I could tell you a bit more of a backstory of some of these drivers, but the reality of the situation, Reese, is a lot of these names in this race today are new to us. It's a new series, a new car. Obviously, the Premier Racing League isn't new to us, but some of these names are newer. I'm sure the level of competition tonight is going to be quite good. We've got a large field, so I'm looking forward to quite a lot of racing out there today. But as far as the Premier Racing League is concerned, this is one of our lower tier divisions. It's a bit of an entry-level series. So some of these drivers really want to perform well over the course of this season to try and work their way up into the other AM Pro Series and the other divisions that the PRL has to offer.
Yeah, indeed. It's a good point you make there. This is a brand new series for the Premier Racing League. And it's a good opportunity for these drivers to get their eye in for the competition in this series. We were talking just before the broadcast started just how big this championship has gotten. So large, in fact, that they have had to create this new division for drivers looking to work their way up. And there's 36 drivers in this session at the moment, so they've got great numbers in this series. Jonathan Wager, of course, showing that he's the class of the field at the moment, on pole currently by 0.163, and not an improvement on that lap, but I believe he still has 1 lap left to go to try and improve on that 1:07.6.
Yeah, all these drivers have 4 laps in this 10-minute session, and as you mentioned, this track is short enough where they should have plenty of time to do that. Judging by the look of a driver chat, I think a couple of drivers were caught off guard by the fact that it's a closed qualifying session, if you will. I think a couple of the drivers thought that they were all going to be out there on track together. So I'm sure they all appreciate the fact that they have the track to themselves. Wager certainly does, obviously. 1/10 of a second over Pim Luth right now. We have 36 cars in total. in this session. 31 of them have turned times. And just to talk about the competitiveness here, Reese, they're all covered by 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, the fixed setup working its wonders there. The drivers can only change, really, the brake bias on these things. So, really brings driving skill and driving style to the fore in this series. Blake Zitti is one of the drivers that has yet to set a time, as you mentioned before. Let's see how well he does here coming through the final corner. You can use an awful lot of that runoff area on the exit of the final turn to get a good run onto the straight. Doesn't look like this is going to be a top time for Blake Zitti. It's 1:11.2 there for Blake. And even then, it did not count. So right at the end of the session, Blake Zitti is going to have to find a little bit extra there.
I'm enjoying some of these liveries out here. Look at this Martini livery as we go on board Oliver Hartley. By the way, this section, I've done a couple of fixed Ferrari races before they brought out the latest Ferrari here, but I'm assuming we're going to see something similar here. This section of a racetrack in the midfield where you'd think it would be single file and all that, I have seen some really ugly incidents here when I've raced here in the official series on iRacing, and you wouldn't expect it because there's not a whole lot of passing opportunities, but some of those corners back there are a little bit blind and they're single groove, and if something goes wrong for someone in the middle of a pack, there's a lot of cars that end up piling into them.
Yeah, exactly. The drivers will have to be incredibly careful out there in race conditions. Of course, they do have that strict incident limit to deal with and keep them all in line. 13 incidents is a drive-through, 17 incidents is a disqualification, as we saw on the placard earlier. So I'm hoping that lap 1 is going to be nice and calm. It's also over a half an hour of a race, which, you know, is not a long race, but it's not exactly short either. So once again, the drivers will take due care, I'm sure. Joe McCauley is going to be one of the final drivers here to try and improve on his qualifying position in 20th at the moment, as you can see from the display on his windscreen. I do think that's very handy, actually, Sam, on these GT cars. Seeing what position they're in on the windscreen certainly helps things out if you don't have live timing available.
Yeah, but fortunately we do, and the numbers on the windscreen update at the end of each lap. They're not dynamic. You know, if they pass the car halfway around the lap, it won't update immediately. Is that a smiley face helmet on Hartley?
I think it might be. I've seen more than a few smiley face helmets in my time. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it might be a Lego man or something. Certainly have seen that helmet before. Looks like Hartley abandoning that lap. What can Raphael Bofill do? He's currently in third on a 1:07.9. He needs 3/10 to take pole position away from Jonathan Wager. He's only got one chance left.
You can see he's well, we're watching Sean Carmody now, but you could see that Raphael there hails from the Central Americas. We got Sean here from New York. I'm looking at the entry list. We've got a lot of Americans, a couple Canadians I'm noticing, and one driver, Leif Hellberg from Scandinavia. So a fair bit of diversity in this race here.
Yeah, good to see. A nice international spread in this event. Raphael, one of the Hispano-America competitors, and I find it interesting that a lot of the drivers aren't using the full extent of that runoff area, as Bofill could not improve. Blake Zitti, meanwhile, has set a time, and he's managed to run good enough for P18 so far. Joe McCauley down in 21st. Is this going to be an improvement for him? Doesn't look like it. 1:09.2. And with that, looks like all of the drivers have set their times. So now, Sam, we can go through this very international grid.
It's very long grid as well, 36 cars, and leading them off from pole position will be Jonathan Wager. And Pim Luth will be starting alongside him in the number 33 machine. And there you see starting from third position will be Raphael Bofill, and lined up alongside him in fourth will be Baron Glover. John Stetzel will be starting from 5th ahead of Eric Luke and Joseph Gerson, and David Cristelli round out row number 4. We don't have the times here, but I can tell you Paul Wildridge and Mauro Fitradenti rounding out the top 10 are all within about half a second of pole.
Mark File only 200ths behind Mauro Fitradenti, starts out of 11th alongside Seton Akara. Alec Bergstrom shares the 7th row with Lawson Christie, and it's Knight and Hellberg 15th and 16th. Sean Carmody and Blake Zitti setting their best times late in the qualifying session, start in 17th and 18th, with the top 20 rounded out by Christopher Richards and Barry Cochrane, again not separated by much.
Row number 11's a colourful row. Joe McCauley is racing a Repsol Honda liveried Ferrari, and Oliver Hartley is in the Martini car in 22nd. Baron Hilton and Spencer Semkovic start on row number 12 ahead of Patrick Cowgill. I've seen that name a few times, I think more on the oval side, in 25th place ahead of Drew Dewisa. Deweese. Peter Lee will be starting 27th ahead of Charles Sumner, also a driver coming over from the oval side of things. Carsten Quint will start 29th ahead of Eric Evans, rounding out the top 30.
The last two drivers to set times are Neil Alexander and Yannick Belleville, with Robert Rund, Matthew Aubrey, Brian Hoskins and Luke Sutton not setting times. They'll be starting off the back here. So the drivers are on their formation lap now, behind the iRacing pace car, that Porsche 911. Always nice to see that out there, but we won't be seeing it again after this formation lap. It's going to be all down to the drivers to keep things safe out there, and you can see from these shots how narrow the racing surface can be at Summit Point. We have a couple of drivers on live feed as well, so we can check out what's going on inside their cockpits. It's Patrick Cowgill that we're seeing at the moment, just conferring with drivers around him and his team. See how well he can do from that position. He's a bit of a ways down the field, so he's got a lot of work to do here at Summit Point, at a track that we've already said is very hard to pass on.
Yeah, they're almost accordioning together going into the hairpin there. Well, actually, I think that's a carousel. The next corner is technically the hairpin. Although they're both tight first or second gear turns, depending on what you're more comfortable with and the track conditions. Track conditions, by the way, fairly moderate out there today. 95 degrees Fahrenheit. 93 degrees Fahrenheit now, and you can see not much of a wind to talk about either. So fairly nice conditions and lots of cloud cover there. And for all of you on the European side of things, there's Celsius and kilometers an hour for you too. All right, here we go. I can tell you how many turns there are until we go green in both American and English, and that's one corner as they come through the last turn right now, with Jonathan Wager on pole position in the number 47 machine. He's already on the loud pedal, and we are racing here for round number 1 of a Ferrari championship here in the Premier Racing League, and Jonathan has gotten off to a nice jump over the rest of the field, already a few car lengths over the 33 of Pim Luth, who's running all on his own. Some in second. Pim very late on the brakes.
Oh, contact there. He moves ahead of Jonathan Wager into turn 1, but that was almost disaster there for Pim Luth. They fortunately managed to make it out of turn 1 in one piece.
Wow, I'm not sure if that was meant to be a pass for the lead. I'm not sure if that's how Pim had intended it, but it worked out, and now he's pacing the field around as they come into the twisty middle section here. This is where things can get a little bit bumpy if anyone's late on the brakes.
Of course, and Pim Luth running a little bit wide through the left-hander. That gave half a chance to Jonathan Wager to get the lead back, but Pim getting the throttle down very nicely through this S-bend section. It's so important to get the line right here on the exit. Very difficult to do when you're in single file. Wager has a bit of momentum here over Pim Luth. He's not going to take advantage into the final turn, but I think he's not going to waste any time here getting this lead back. Look at him.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking, hey, you kind of owe me one here. Let's see what braking points they choose this time around. You see there's also a battle for about 10th on back there, as this is definitely the best passing opportunity on the track. They're still side by side, and Jonathan does get through turn 1 better and retakes the lead.
Good stuff there from Jonathan Wager. Don't know if either of them have an incident hanging over their head. Couple of incident points as Baron Glover has been taking great advantage of this. He's already made up one position, and in fact our third place starter, Rafael Bofill, fell down to 7th place at the end of the first lap. So a lot of drivers having issues here today. Seeing Alec Bergstrom and Daniel Knight falling down the order massively. I think they've both had an incident, and you see a car stop by the side of the track there, so something's gone very wrong down in the field.
Yeah, there's a massive gap in the pack around 14th, 15th place. So this is definitely mixed things up, and that's unfortunate. And here we see it happened at turn 3. Oh, synchronized spinning right there. It could have been a lot uglier, actually. But I was just about to say, right before that happened, that everyone had gotten through lap 1 cleanly. The entire field was covered by 16 seconds at the end of lap 1. Not so lucky at the end of lap 2.
At the start of lap 3, Eric Luke having to defend from Baron Glover and John Stetzel. Glover and Stetzel going side by side out of turn 1 at the bottom of the screen there. Very tight fighting in the top 10, but Jonathan Wager is absolutely blasting away from everyone at the moment. Set the fastest lap so far, a 1:07.8, and he's already 1.4 seconds clear of Pim Luth at the front of the field. Joseph Gerson has just made his way past David Cristelli for 6th place, and he completed that move down at the fast right-hander, coming down to the hairpin section.
And everyone in the top 10 started in the top 10, so it's been a fairly ordinary race for them so far, but nice seeing some moves being made out there and everyone keeping it clean up there. The entire field is still running. We saw the incident on lap 2, but those cars got going again, and the entire field still covered by about 25 seconds.
I have to say, looking at that synchronized spin incident we just saw, it was really good to see the drivers behind them checking up and keeping things clean instead of driving straight into the incident. Of course, the incident limit in this series is a big part to play in that, but still, it's the responsible thing to do, which is good to see in a field like this. It's very close here between Glover and Gerson, and Joseph has been steadily trying to work his way back up here to starting position since lap 1, and he's just chipping away at the moment, trying to get past these guys, try and catch up with the top 4 here, and really his only best hope is 2nd place at this stage, because Jonathan Wager's continuing to absolutely stomp the rest of the field here. Now he's nearly 2 seconds clear of Pim Luth.
Yeah, things looking quite good for the driver for number 47 right now. Going through the field to see if we have any big movers so far. Plus 5 positions, I think, is the best I can find for Neil Alexander in 27th place. He's rocking a red and blue car, almost looks confetti liveried back there. Oh, no, there we go. It's no, that's Carsten Quint.
In an Alpha Tauri livery, which
the car ahead of him.
Nice.
The car ahead of him. There we are. There's Neil Alexander. So I think he's, so 31st to 26th. Nice job so far.
Indeed, and looking good while doing it. That's a very striking livery. We see quite a few of those in this series. So there's the position gains and losses, and you won't see it on that tower, but the biggest position loss in the field is Daniel Knight. We saw him going for that spin at turn 2, and he's lost 13 positions so far. In fact, Alec Bergstrom has lost even more. He's down 19 from where he started, so they're not having the best of starts to their first round of the season. Hopefully they'll be able to claw it back as the championship continues, but we're right on board with Baron Glover looking back at Joseph Gerson, who's continuing to harass the back of 5th place.
Yeah, and we got our first car in the casualty department. Eric Evans has had to tow to the pits, and he's actually rejoining the track as all these cars are coming by. You'll see him going quite slowly on the right side of the circuit here.
He's still heavily damaged. That car's crabbing. That's dangerous. He should probably bring that back in.
Yeah, it's Eric Evans, the number 29 car. I think he's a little bit behind this pack that we're watching on screen right now. But so that takes us down to 35 cars still on the lead lap, which is still an impressive number. As you can see, this, I know we mentioned 35 minutes. It isn't exactly the shortest Ferrari race. The official series only do 15-minute races here on iRacing, but it still goes by in a hurry, Reese.
Yeah, certainly does. I mean, we're we're coming up on 7 minutes in, and only feels like we've had a couple of laps so far. I mean, this track, of course, still incredibly short. It's been pretty eventful so far. We're seeing some great battles forming throughout the field, and surely the drivers will all keep it clean out there as we ride on board. The big chase down here from Eric Luke, and that is Pim Luth in front of him. Could this be a move for second onto the racing line? Luth going defensive, and he manages to maintain the momentum coming out of turn one. Turn one here at Summit Point is one of those places where you can easily go side by side and still challenge your rival, even if you're on the outside of the corner.
And for any of you who were wondering, Eric Evans did bring it back into the pit, so he realised the same reason I saw, that the car was still badly damaged. No free repairs in this series. It's an unfortunate end to the day for him. We continue to watch these battles up front. Not really any side-by-side battles right now. These drivers know there's still a little ways to go, but lots of drivers running within proximity of another, and you have to imagine at some point someone's going to make a bit of a mistake in check-up, and we're going to end up with a pack, and things are going to heat up. And there's a spin in the background, right as I say that.
Oh dear. Is that... Where on earth is that? That's Gerson, who's gone around, and I'm looking at him here. This is on the run up to the final turn, and managed to get up on the embankment. He was very lucky not to go over it and fall into the void, because he would have been booted straight back to the pits there. But after fighting for 5th place, that's not the way Joseph Gerson will want his night to go. Here's how it happened. Oh, just catching the grass on the exit of that curb. And that turn is just about flat out in a GT3 car, so it's very easy to make a mistake like that on the exit.
And if there had been absolutely no one coming, he might have been able to spin it right back around. The problem, of course, is, as we mentioned, it's a 36-car field. They're all still pretty much bunched together, so he had to wait a long, long time until he could finally get going again. I'm seeing him down in 29th right now. So definitely not a good day here for Joseph Gerson. We're continuing to watch a battle for second here, and rightfully so. We might as well give Jonathan Wager the gold medal right now, although A, you never know what can happen in motor racing, and B, I do think at some point he'll run into lap traffic, and that's a mistake from Pim.
Oh, this is going to give the move here to Eric Luke, probably the easiest pass that will ever be made on track today, with a bit of a mistake from Pim Luth at the final corner. Can really push it over the curb, but you dip a wheel into the gravel, and that's all she wrote. So let's see if Eric can hold on to this position. Pim Luth, it seems, was a bit of a cork in the bottle, because he's still got John Stetzel and Baron Glover behind him. This is going to be a tight battle for what is now 3rd.
Yeah, you do have to wonder, now that we have a new car in 2nd position, will Eric Luke be able to do anything about that 5-second gap that Jonathan has? My instant guess would be no, because Eric Luke qualified 6th, so he's pushing above his weight here based on his qualifying pace. But at the same time, he's already, well, I was about to say he's already called up a 10th or 2 on Jonathan, but as I say that, it looks like the timing readjusts itself as I go through the S's. And what we got here, Rafael Bafil, was he off course?
It actually looks like he's made a pass for 9th place. He's involved in that battle there with Mark File up a position from where he started, and it could be, oh dear, Blake Zitti running off at the final corner, but it looks like there's going to be a pass between Mark File and Rafael Bafil. File on the outside, and Zitti manages to get it back on track as, oh, Rafael. He almost made contact with Mark File there in the braking zone, but they both managed to get through cleanly.
Yeah, anytime there's a passing opportunity, there's also an opportunity for things to go very wrong, and that is something I think any iRacer has seen happen at Turn 1 at Summit Point. It's very easy to get your braking wrong there. We saw evidence of that right from the get-go on the opening lap in this race. And things can get quite nasty down in Turn 1 very quickly if someone does mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. There's not much runoff here at Summit Point. It's very much an old-school track. It's been hosting races since the early 1970s at least. It's one of the historic places in America. We check out coming through the final corner, this battle here. 3 cars involved. Mark File up ahead, but between the cars behind, it looks like there might be a pass. Leif Hellberg and Sean Carmody just out of frame now. And coming down into turn 1 side by side, Carmody gets the move done. Hellberg backed out very early there.
Yeah, nice move and probably a little bit of cooperation. Again, we're not at the halfway point yet, even though there's not a whole lot of racing left to go. There's only 20 minutes or so, which will flash by for these drivers. They still have to be somewhat patient and do a little bit of give and take because, as we mentioned, there's no free repairs. There's still 35 cars on the lead lap, so if you do mess up, you're going to go very far down the order.
Indeed you are. You can't afford to make too big of a mistake in a race like this, especially when everyone's out here driving the same machinery and there's no pit strategy or safety cars to worry about. It's all about the sprint to the end as we check out through the final turn. Lawson Christie and Sean Carmody, meanwhile, a bit further up ahead at turn 1. Pim Luth continuing to try and hold on to these positions, but the drivers around him, it seems, just chipping away at him lap on lap. John Stetzel in the Gulf liveried car there in 4th place, really pressuring him. Meanwhile, it looks like Rafael Bofil has now fallen outside the top 10. Something's happened to him there.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get a replay of exactly what happened.
It's got a bit of damage as well.
Was it something under braking for turn 1 maybe? We
just got straight up past cleanly into turn 1, so that damage I think is from a... Oh, actually no, there was a bit of contact there, so that explains why his front right fender is now missing. Rafael Bofil getting knocked about a little bit here.
These are aerodynamically dependent sports cars. They definitely perform better when all their fenders are pointing in the right direction as they were built. That being said, this isn't the most aerodynamically dependent racetrack, so hopefully if it's just a minor kink in the fender, you should be able to get away all right.
He should, and it's good to see that. You know, I mean, if this was an open wheel race, for example, he'd probably be in a lot worse shape than he is now. Meanwhile, Pim Luth and John Stetzel continuing to battle here for 4th place and 3rd as well. Pim just running a little bit too far over the curb there. I think starting to get a little bit squirrely.
We got a spinner down in turn 1, Joe McCauley, who was running in 17th. Now, the scary thing here, if we get a replay, it was quite a calm spin, but the scary thing was there was a 3-way battle right behind him, and they had to all get themselves sorted out as they made their way through the turn.
Right, let's see what happened to him here. Yeah, it looked like a pretty slow, safe spin, but yeah, that is a very difficult place to end up back on the track, right at the exit curb for turn 1.
And off goes Leif Hellberg from 14th.
Oh dear.
It's identical to what we saw earlier.
Yeah, the same thing that happened to Patrick Cowgill, I think it was, that we saw make his way around. Let's have a look then. Is it the same kind of incident, just running over the exit curb? Yes, just catches the grass, the traction control kicks in and around he goes.
It wasn't Patrick Cowgill this happened to earlier, but let's go on board him right here. Patrick had a narrow, he almost collected him as he rejoined the racing circuit.
Yeah, my apologies for misidentifying the driver. Of course, I am a bit new to this series, so that is going to happen
we all
or twice.
are. All the drivers are. Yeah, all the drivers are too. But here is Patrick. Let's ride on board Patrick here, because he's worked his way up from 25th to 21st. He's got a little bit of pressure from behind, a bit of open racetrack in front of him, fighting the wheel and off in the grass. Oh, we got on board you at the wrong time, Patrick. We're sorry. A minor spin, though. He should be able to get back on course. He's lost 5-6 positions, maybe.
Well, we talk about the commentator's curse. I wonder if that's a director's curse that we just saw there. Patrick Cowgill looking very frustrated as he brings his car back onto the track safely. He's got more positions to make up there. And Well, he was further up from where he started before. Now he's a position behind where he started. So, unfortunate there for Patrick Cowgill, but he can certainly recover a few more positions before the end.
Yeah, he will be pressured for position going down the straight here. Here we go. One more car might go underneath him. This is Sutton. That's Charles Sumner behind him. I can always recognise Charles's car.
Oh, almost made contact in turn one. Sutton gets the run on the inside, but Cowgill is going to be defensive here for turn two and manages to protect the position there.
Yeah, speaking of positions, let's go up to third position because Eric Luke has pulled far and away with second place, but third place is very much up for grabs as Pim Luke is now being challenged by John Stetzel.
And he just manages to squeeze up the inside, was given just enough room there by Pim Luth on the inside. It's good to see that there's clean racing going on here, but Baron Glover will try to take advantage of this. The move is successfully defended by Pim Luth. These guys are having a lot of trouble getting past him, but Baron Glover now under pressure from David Cristelli. Oh, you saw him go wide there. You can't see Cristelli, but now you can. He's gone off the circuit at the left-hander. Tried his best to get the position, and it just didn't work out.
And able to avoid the quarter pod, which I'm sure is good news for any Sims in there. So there's where things start to get dicey for third and fourth place, and then David Castelli tries to make a move for fifth. This isn't a place you really want to be making a move. I mean, they're doing it nice and clean, but yeah, that's there's more. The risk outweighs the reward there, I think.
Yeah, just a bit too late on the brakes, and
but
you
as we come back live, they're at it again for third place. This time around, the outside goes John.
Oh my goodness, well that's going to give him the inside for the next turn, but I don't even think that's going to matter because Pim Luth did not get the exit he needed from turn one, and now through goes Baron Glover, taking advantage very nicely of that incident. So they're all making up positions here except for Pim Luth at this stage.
Yeah, there was contact there in turn one, and I think it definitely affected Pim more than it did John. And as a result, as you mentioned, he's down to fifth. All right, this battle was exciting enough already, but soon they're going to have another challenge. They will be catching lap traffic very shortly. Our race leader, Jonathan Wagers, right on the back of Robert Rund, who is running down in 34th place right now. He's going to be the first car to go a lap down. And it easily said and done when it's just one car lapping one car. But hey, what's happened to Hilberg? I noticed he just disappeared from the timing screens there. Oh, something big's happened to Gerson.
Oh no, Joseph Gerson. I mean, he was putting on such a good drive just a few moments ago. How on earth has it all gone wrong from here? He's tried his best to get up the inside at turn two, but it's difficult to go side by side through there. Oh my goodness, what?
Was that the other drive I mentioned? It
might have been. I have no idea.
To remember who it was now.
Baron Hilton, I saw go back to the pits, and now he's back out. But I don't know if it was him that that got hit off into the void. That was spectacular, that incident. But either driver, I don't think, will be very happy with that. Eric Luke, all on his lonesome in second place, and currently running times a 10th faster than Jonathan Wager, but at this stage of the race, I don't think he has enough really to put a dent in Wager's lead right now. Rafael Bofil, I've just noticed, has come into the pits.
Well, that's unfortunate because he had a good race going on, up in 13th place.
Well, there's a chance that the drivers might have to pit in this race. It's 40% fuel tank restriction, remember, so I think that every driver in the field is going to be coming in for a stop at some point, just electing to get his out of the way at the moment, as that's an incident further back in the field. Setane Kara, and that is a slap bang no question, unsafe re-entry.
Yeah, and as we'll get a replay of that, I can tell you Jonathan Wager is coming into the pit. So, yep, this is definitely fuel-related. A lot of drivers have gone as far as they can on fuel.
So on board with Christopher Richards, we're going to see this dangerous re-entry out of turn 2. Out comes the Ferrari, and well, Richards, he had the presence and the presence of mind to stay to the left out of turn 2. I'm sure that, you know, any sim racer with enough experience will see a car coming back onto the track and know where to go in a situation like that.
And that was Wager right at the front of the picture we saw there coming back out of a pit. So he's lost several positions, obviously, but not to worry. Everyone in front of him should have to come in. So it's, yeah, 40% fuel loads. That's where a bit of confusion on my part was coming from. These drivers entering this race with a sprint race mentality, knowing it's only half an hour, and yet they still have to deal with a pit stop.
Well, it's good practice for the AM and Pro series that Premier Racing League also runs. Pit stops are a big part of GT racing, and it just doesn't feel the same without them. So I think it's good to see a bit of pit strategy working out in this event. As we check out more cars jumping into the lane, we've got Mauro Ficadenti, John Stetzel, Pim Luth, Paul Wildridge, all in the lane here. Mark File joins them in there as well.
Yeah, so pit road getting very busy, but if there is any strategy here, obviously I'm pretty sure, oh, you don't want to do that, stop shorten your pit still. If there is any strategy here, it's that Eric Luke in second place has done a very good job, it seems, of saving fuel. Now, he was about 7-8 seconds back of Wager before the pit stop started, so I think it would be optimistic to think he could take a lead out of this, but not impossible.
No, not impossible indeed, especially if there's a problem for Jonathan Wager as he tries to work his way back through. In terms of pit stop times, Wager actually has one of the slower times in the field stopped. In fact, out of everyone who's had a routine pit stop, he's got the slowest time out of all of them, 12.6 seconds in the box. I guess he could afford to do that with the lead he had.
Well, Eric Luke has came into the pits at the end of his lap, so we'll see where he comes out. Now, he was making a note of the fact that I doubt we'll see any tyres throughout the season with these 35-minute races. The drivers have the ability to turn tyres off. That was a very quick stop for Luke. Look at that, 3 seconds quicker than Wager.
Goodness me. Not quite as quick as the pit stop for Robert Rund, which was 8.2 seconds, but still, that is a big difference, and he'll certainly have made up that time on Jonathan Wager. Now it's an out-and-out sprint to the end for these guys over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, but the one thing now they will have to deal with is lap traffic. So Wager's still holding down a nice 8-second lead despite a much slower pit stop, but he does have lap traffic to deal with. Hopefully that won't be too much of a headache for him. Unfortunately for the drivers 4th, 5th, etc. on back, they aren't as they do have their work cut out for them because there's a lot more traffic back here.
Yeah, there is. We're looking at Pim Luth right now, chased down by Paul Wildridge and Mark File. These three have kept each other very close company, and there's also a 4-car train behind them, the battle for 7th place. Sean Carmody recently getting past Raphael Bofill, and in hot pursuit, David Cristelli and Lawson Christie. They cleared Luke Sutton there. You see the car just trailing behind that pack. That is Sutton down in 30th place. Will there be a move at the final turn? It's not a particularly popular passing place because you have this whole straight ahead of you and you can very easily slipstream into the braking zone for turn 1. What kind of momentum will these drivers get? Doesn't look like there's much of a chance of a move here yet.
Yeah, you mentioned that final turn not being a great passing opportunity. I don't think any turns other than turn 1 here are great passing opportunities. That being said, we've seen a few drivers opt to try and create passing opportunities today at places where you shouldn't really be doing that. And unfortunately, in some cases, we've seen that come out the wrong way. We have 4 cars multiple laps down and assumingly out of a race, or at least out of contention for a decent finish. Those are Leif Hilberg, Joseph Gerson, Daniel Knight and Eric Evans. Everyone else is on the lead lap or just 1 lap down, as I say that. You see a couple more drivers appearing 2 laps down. As we're entering the closing 10 minutes, well, we're in the closing 10 minutes of this race now. Jonathan Wager still holding up, down a 9-second lead up front.
Yeah, you did mention how some drivers are attempting to create passing opportunities. I think back to David Cristelli in the bright blue machine. We saw him go off in the hairpin section of the lap, and you know, I understand the logic behind that move, and it can certainly be pulled off. If you're on the outside coming into the left-hander, you can hold on around the outside, which gives you the inside for the right-hand hairpin. So that's another place that a pass can be made around Summit Point, but turn 1 is by far the easiest, and it's the one we've seen the most drivers go for, an obvious opportunity. Not a very obvious opportunity for Paul Wildridge, though, in the fellow Gulf liveried Ferrari. Not able to make his way past Pim Luth at this stage, and Mark File pressuring the both of them. And this section, so twisty, you want to get on the throttle, but there's only a certain speed you can take these turns at, so got to be careful. Oh, mistake there for Luth, going off on the curb and giving half a chance to Paul Wildridge down at the final turn, but it's not going to happen. Wildridge on the inside, his exit's been compromised. This is going to be the position for Mark File. Oh, and there's a car off in the final turn too.
That's Spencer Semkovich's laps down, but yeah, Pim Luth kind of got lucky there. He really ran wide at the end of the S's, had to back out of it, but he kind of got his car in a position where it held the other cars up behind him, so he was able to hold 4th down. I'll tell you what, Pim Luth qualified up in 2nd. He's it seems like every time we've seen him today, he's been getting past, and yet here he is, still in 4th place. So he's actually doing a marvellous job at defensive driving and maintaining his position.
It's all about consistency, isn't it? And that's one of the things that this series will teach drivers who are coming in looking to learn those things. If you're able to keep up your average pace, if you're able to stay out of trouble, doesn't matter if you get passed on track, you can still be in a good position at the end. Jonathan Wager shows that he doesn't really have much to learn in this series with the immense lead that he has by 7.4 seconds. He is coming up to a bit of lap traffic, though. Looks like 2 cars here. Joe McCauley, 30th position, and Peter Lee, 20th position. But right here, Jonathan Wager can afford to back off a bit. He doesn't have to rush to pass these guys. He's just so far in the lead that it doesn't matter much.
Yeah, but he is really working his way through the thick of lap traffic now. As you mentioned, he's lapped up to 20th position now. A few positions behind him, Yannick Belleville just had a crash on the front straight, and that's pushed him back several positions. One of the cars that has gone the lap down is our good friend Patrick Cowgill, who has had that onboard camera for us today in the number 31 machine. There you see him running in 23rd place, so he's been able to, well, what, I think it was 21st when we saw him going off last time. And I wonder if we're going to put the onboard camera back on him. I don't really want to curse him like that again. Okay, I'm sure he'll be appreciating you, director, because we're back up here to this battle for 4th, 5th and 6th place. Oh, and here we go.
Yeah, Pim Luth going wide again, and Mark File was right there to take advantage. Same for Paul Wildridge too. So Pim Luth losing 2 positions in the one straight, thanks to running wide through the right-hander once again.
Yeah, he got away with it last lap. Not so lucky this time around. Yeah, look at that. He's way too far on the right there. You really need to be opening these S's up. He's way offline already, and as soon as you're offline for one of the corners, it just compounds itself.
Yeah, well, there's every chance that he was looking in his mirrors and seeing Mark File weaving around, trying to get the advantage by apexing later through that section. Whatever File was doing, it's worked out well for him. Pim Luth now back into 6th place, and Sean Carmody is looking to make himself a part of that as Seton Ekara in the pits now and taking tyres, which is a bit odd. We definitely don't need tyres in a race like this. There's every chance he was probably getting some damage repaired as well, and just left the tyres ticked. with him being as far down as he is, might as well get some fresh boots on and see if he can make up any positions at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely going to cost him a little bit of time there. We're into the closing laps now of this race. Only a few laps left to go. We'll try and get an exact number for you next time Jonathan Wager crosses the line. You can see the top three have pretty much solidified their positions, but fourth on back is still tight as we're watching Wager work his way around the circuit for now. Finally, has found a break in the lap traffic.
Yeah, some nice clear air to try and extend his lead. Doesn't need to extend it by much until he's a full 10 seconds ahead of Eric Luke, and you see the delta changing so often. Now the gap is over 10 seconds as he comes around to begin his 29th lap in this race.
Three to go, I think, yeah.
Yeah, with 2.5 minutes remaining and a lap here taking 1 minute and 7 to 1 minute and 8 seconds. That's how long it's going to be. Pim Luth now under pressure from Sean Carmody for 6th place.
So we were saying how good Pim was doing that, maintaining his position. Oh, this is going to get dicey. Ew. Just enough for him on that track. But Pim's still going to lose a position from this, probably. Sean Carmody.
Nice spinner ahead.
Off the inside though, so that won't be much of a problem. By the way, let's give a shout out to Sean Carmody. He started 17th. He's in 6th now.
Yeah, it's a very good run there from Sean, proving himself to be very good in race conditions. The car we saw spun at turn 1 was Blake Zitti. He's managed to get it going. No need to go back to him. That incident has worked out as, oh, goodness me, that was a little bit of a slide there from number 47. Jonathan Wager now starting his penultimate lap here, making his way past a little more lapped traffic. That's Karsten Quint that he's just made his way past. And, I mean, I think it says it all with that over 10-second gap. Jonathan Wager's been the class of the field today.
Yeah, no, he's definitely done an awesome job, and you know, I had that theory earlier on that maybe Pim Luth was holding the rest of the competition up, and that maybe that's why Jonathan was able to pull away, but we've seen that hasn't necessarily been the case, because he's been able to pull away from Eric Luth too, the entire time that Eric has been in 2nd place. So we got a Canadian, a Floridian, and a Californian on the podium here, going back to the whole thing we were talking about diversity earlier, but it's always a nice to see where people are coming from in various events here on iRacing.
So one more turn to go now for our race leader, and this will be the white flag in the Premier Racing League GT3M Ferrari Series. What a drive it has been from the number 47. Just a few more cars worth of lap traffic to go, and he will be absolutely home free. He does seem to be in very strong form here at Summit Point, Jonathan Wager, overcoming those bumps and curbs and the very short and frenetic layout. Oh, there's been a problem here for Sean Carmody. Actually, it looks like he's coming into the pits. Is he out of fuel?
That would be...
Had to lead his pit stop right to the end.
No, I'm going to guess
maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that maybe he didn't account on this extra lap here, and that would also help explain why he'd been able to move up so many positions without us noticing. I'm going to assume he just didn't take enough fuel during his pit stop, had a quick pit stop, and now paying the price for it. Oh boy, Jonathan really has to work his way through the lap cars here. That's Charles Sumner running in 17th place, I think, is going to go a lap down here. Final turn for Jonathan Wager. He's had a little bit of lap traffic to deal with, had a lengthy pit stop. Other than that, it's been a flawless performance for the first victory of the season.
Brilliant win for Jonathan Wager. We have to go all the way back 11 seconds for Eric Luke. There's still a position up for grabs here for David Cristelli, chasing down Pim Luth for 6th place. But it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make it work. So Pim Luth manages to hold on for 6th place at the end of this. Probably won't be too happy with that run from 2nd, but he managed to keep it on the track, unlike a few drivers today. Barry Cochrane coming home in 12th as well.
That was Robert Rund in that gold and red Ferrari you saw coasting across the line, so he ran out of fuel too, and he fades to 24th position. By the way, just 14 cars left on the lead lap at the end of all that. Charles Sumner finished 15th by being the first car one lap down. Here are your full race results. It was Jonathan Wager who took home the victory by almost 12 seconds over Eric Luke. John Stetzel finished in third position ahead of Mark File in fourth, and Paul Wieldridge in fifth place. Pim Luth faded back to sixth, but still a decent finish ahead of David Cristelli and Rafael Bofill. In ninth position was Lawson Christie, and rounding out the top 10 was Baron Glover.
Finishing in 11th, Christopher Richards up from 19th. Barry Cochrane started 20th and made up 8 positions to finish 12th. The last 2 cars to finish on the lead lap, Sean Carmody, who we saw coming in for that late second pit stop, and Drew Dewey's. Charles Sumner leads up the cars a lap down in 15th place. He's followed by Carsten Quint, Oliver Hartley, Alec Bergstrom, Peter Lee, and Brian Hoskins. Brian making up 15 positions there.
Patrick Cowgill, after his embarrassing incident we caught on camera, comes home in 21st place. That's where he was running, I think, when that incident took place. Satane Kara selected tyres for some reason during his pit stop. That's not a great plan, and as a result, he finishes 22nd ahead of Matthew Aubrey. Robert Rund is down there in 24th ahead of Yannick Belleville, Luke Sutton in 26th place, and then Mauro Ficcidenti. Blake Ziti saw him off a couple of times in 28th, and after Blake you get to all the cars who were multiple laps down after being involved in some incidents, including some drivers who were having good runs in the top 10. Unfortunately, I don't see any drivers available for interviews, so I think, Reese, that means okay, we're going to give it another minute here, but shortly we're about to go to a quick break, and then we will be back. We're going to get iRacing reset and head on down to Road Atlanta for the Precision Racing League GT AM division. We'll give another minute here to see, though, if any drivers show up. Any final thoughts before we head down to Road Atlanta, Reese?
Well, I think that Jonathan Wager made a big statement today with his pace over the rest of the field and that dominant victory that he took. I reckon he is going to be the man to beat this season, and I think that Pim Luth might have to work on his race pace at this point, because a 6th place finish from second without any crashes is not exactly what you want to see as a driver. But that said, it was still a consistent drive from Pim, and consistent drives from a lot of people in the field. I was impressed with Mark File making his way up from 11th to 4th. It does look like we have a couple of drivers up in the ready for interviews booth. I do see 2nd place finisher Eric Luke. Yeah,
so let's go ahead and bring him in. Eric, we're going to make this short because we have the GTM race coming up momentarily, but a nice race out there today. Started 6th and finished all the way up in 2nd. I've got to imagine you're happy about that.
I'm very happy about that. Good evening, guys. I know you guys are busy. I just got kind of lucky, got a great start, and a couple guys hit the gravel coming out of the final corner, and I was able to overtake, and it was no looking back from there.
You had a very short pit stop. You went very late into the stint. What was that planned from the beginning? Were you hoping that you would be able to have that short stop and leapfrog a couple positions?
That's what I was hoping for. I didn't think I would catch up to Mr. Wager. He had the crazy pace. So when at the first start of the race, I was kind of conserving fuel a little bit. Towards the middle of the race, when the pace was about 4 seconds behind me, I started lifting and coasting, planning for that pit stop, went in as late as I could, got out as fast as I could, and it seemed to work out well.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Eric. We look forward to seeing you back at the next round.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for the Race 1 coverage here, the Ferrari race here in the Precision Racing League GT AM series. We'll be back with a variety of GT cars racing in Road Atlanta in just a few moments. Don't go away. One race down, one to go. We've taken a trip down south from Summit Point, and we now find ourselves here at the roller coaster that is Road Atlanta. Before we get things started, let's take a look at the course with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curbing lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course SIMMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track.
Well, while we had several different tracks going on at Summit Point, there's just one Road Atlanta race, but it's a hard track to master, even though it might look simple here on the track guide.
Yeah, indeed. This place was built in 1970. It's got 12 turns now, a couple more than it did initially, and it is reasonably short for a major venue as well, at only 2.5 miles in length. These GT3s can get around here in about 80 seconds, and it's an absolute roller coaster, especially in that first sector. The S's coming down through to the left-hander of turn 5 at the very bottom of the hill. It's all about momentum, getting your line right through the first sector, and setting yourself up for a pass into 10A and 10B, the chicane at the end of the lap.
So, regarding the championship, obviously it's a new season here. There's 0 points for all the drivers and for all the teams. But the Precision Racing League had a season last season, of course, and here's how things panned out last season. Just 5 points separating the top 4 drivers. So very close there, with the spoils going to Nick Mclaughlin for Apex Button Box. And Alexis Demers was 3 points back. And then you see RaceLab Apps and Vincent Trapagne tied for 4th, and John Antonio there in 5th place. There's also a team championship for these drivers. And last season it was NTR Motorsport. Things not as close over here. They really did a number over the RF Delta Sport team. And then they were even further ahead of Apex Button Box. So was an Apex Button Box driver who got the driver's title, but not the team championship. Parabola Racing Cobalt down there in 4th, and then SDS Racing Team in 5th place. Some new names this season, though, and here's what they're up against, Reese.
Indeed, round 1 of 10, and it's a little bit longer here than the Ferrari race we saw a bit earlier. It's 40 minutes in length and open setup. We've got all the GT3 machinery available as well, but the incident rules, as you can see, are exactly the same. Drive-through penalty at 13 incidents and DQ at 17. So it's another case of the drivers having to take maximum care out there. Be very careful not to get involved in an incident, not to dip a wheel onto the grass or race too hard with another machine. Dawson Brock managing to run a time good enough for P2 in his Porsche. but it is Vincent Trapagne who's on P1 at the moment, 1 minute 18 flat just about in his BMW. And the balance of performance between the GT3 cars is as good as it's always been. I think it's a nice spread of cars here. We got Porsches, we got Ferraris, we've got BMWs, and we got a Ford and a Lamborghini from what I can see in the field too.
Nice to see some variety out there, and you mentioned the balance of performance. It must be close, because all 41, yes, that's right, 41 cars in practice were covered by 2 seconds, which is saying something considering how complex this racetrack is. So looks like we're going to be in for just as much of a thriller as what we were in the Ferrari race. Now, I'm sure you can forgive us for being a little bit surprised that pit stops were required during the half-hour race in the Ferraris earlier. We can assure you that pit stops will also be part of this race too. They have limited fuel tanks in these cars. The race is a little bit longer at 45 minutes, and so these drivers will have to play the strategy card, and it'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be important to nail the pit strategy. If you want to try and undercut or overcut a rival, you're going to have to nail it, because this track's very hard to pass on. You have to depend on a slipstream down the back straight if you want any chance of passing someone into 10A and 10B, and through the middle sector and opening sector, it's incredibly difficult to make moves, let alone run side by side. So it's going to be for sure a big strategy play in this race, as Kevin Norris there going to second place, making it an all BMW front row.
Well, so there we go then. BMW is getting the upper hand right now. Now, to say balance of performance is close, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's perfect. You know, there might be some cars that do handle a little bit better than others. But of course, some cars are just, well, there we go. Things change immediately as Vincent Trapagne goes fastest. Again, improves his time in that number 97 87 rather BMW. Looks like a good day for Canadians so far.
Yeah, it certainly does, as we see more drivers falling up the order here in the qualifying positions. Devon Horvath running a time good enough for P8 as things stand, and Trapagne on his final lap at the moment. Fabio Scardua going to P6, making it less than 4/10 to the current pole position time. So it's all to play for here in the final 3 minutes of this qualifying session, like we saw in the Ferraris.
Yeah, only 3 drivers haven't turned 2 drivers actually haven't turned a lap yet. One of them is Jorge Villagers, and he's out there on the track trying to set a time, so we'll see what he can do. Here's Kyle Robertson. That's a very recognizable paint scheme there, a bright green. It's not going to be too hard to pick that car out, especially when it's starting as high as 12th position.
Indeed. And demonstrating the line through turn 1 there. It's almost like an uphill version of Cops at Silverstone.
Look at that, Reece, saving the best till last. I just mentioned Jorge Villagers hadn't set a time yet. Well, he set a time.
Wow. Yeah, that is definitely a time. The second driver to make it into the 117s in this session, and only 600ths behind our pole sitter. So it looks like this is going to be a nice competitive front row.
Now, I'm going to guess he has another lap left as well. Here comes Robbie Campbell coming to the line, and he's number 93 machine down there in 12th place right now. Doesn't improve.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Robbie Campbell. Jason Burmeister, we'll see if he can improve on his 1 minute 20.5. And it looks like he can. Takes 1.2 seconds out of it. No longer 40th place for him. He's up to 35th, and Don Bowden bringing in for that very difficult pit entry here at Road Atlanta. And Sam, that's going to be a big element in this race with the pit stop that the drivers have to make. You have to navigate a downhill chicane on the way down to the pits, and there's no tarmac runoff to save you there.
Yeah, right as we saw Michael Pabellano cross the line there, Jorge Villagers crossed the line as well, and he did not improve, so he stays second fastest. Devon Horvath here, 14th. 118.4 his time to beat. Oh, it does it by 7 thousandths, but won't get a position out of that.
Meanwhile, Nathan Miller can improve by 0.2. That moves him up to 37th place. It looks to me like there's only a few drivers left on qualifying laps at the moment. Cognin there might have had a bit of an issue, as he's one of the drivers we ride on board with, and the number 42 making his way into the pits. Running in VR is Mr. Nin. Very slick setup there. It looks like he's got a bit of a green screen going there as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say it wasn't as much a VR that caught my attention there. That looked like a hospital in the background. It's a nice and clean building.
Oh, goodness. With a very nice picture of a car on the wall as well. Final car to complete a lap. Can he improve on his P2 time? Jorge Villegas? No, he cannot. It's an 18.3 for him in the final seconds of the session. So, looks to me, Samuel, like we have a grid on our hands.
Yep, as the final seconds click off in qualifying, the cars are all forced to return to the pits, and Vincent Trapagne is awarded the pole position by 0.06 of a second over Jorge Villegas. Starting from third position will be Caven Norris, and now you can follow along on our screens with the lap times. Louise Reedy will be starting from fourth ahead of Dawson Brock in fifth place, and Matt Hilton alongside him. Nathan Nicholson will be starting from 7th place ahead of Fabio Scardura, and then Vincent Sepulveda will be starting from 9th place ahead of Jean-Claude Lanois.
Rounding out the top 10 there, Christopher Rhines starts the 111 in 11th place, with Robbie Campbell alongside him on row 6, Ethan Tavitas and Devin Horvath on row 7. It's Carl Robertson and Jose Malbran, 15th and 16th. Cognin, who we saw at the end of the qualifying session, starts alongside Gabriel Moreau, and rounding out the top 20, it's going to be Michael Pavellano and Alexandre Breton.
Entering the second half of the field now, starting in 21st place will be Nick Mclaughlin alongside Philippe Magnan. Rafael Vera will be starting from 23rd ahead of Marc-Andre Desjardins. Richard Swindells will be starting from 15th ahead of Paul Espina. Lucio Vargas will be starting from 27th place ahead of Gabriel Noan. Michael Kwiatkowski will be starting from 19th ahead of Nikos Sanidakis.
And the last lot of drivers here today, Anderson Schmidt and Eduardo Lorente, 31st and 32nd. Michel Plourde starts alongside Don Bowden. Jason Burmeister and Rodrigo Morales sharing row 18. Then it's Nathan Miller, Chet Miller, Bowie Stewart and David Morse rounding out the top 40. The final car on the grid, Claude Belval in the number 33, the only driver to not set a time. And as things stand here, Sam, looks like we're going to be racing into the twilight here at Road Atlanta. The sun is setting. It's currently 7:47 p.m. in sim time. So the drivers are going to have to deal with a little bit more darkness out there. Fortunately for them, Road Atlanta got an update in the latest iRacing build that added a bit more night lighting.
And we've got a few onboards for you here today, starting with Paul Espina, who will be starting in 26th position. You get an idea of, you can see how lit up everything that is on his dashboard there, how dark a sim probably is around him. This is Nick Mclaughlin. He will be starting from the 21st position, so right in the middle of the field. Not always the best place to be starting from when things get a little dicey in the roller coaster here on the opening lap, but they're making their way through now. And then, of course, here is Quote Nin, who will be starting the highest of our onboards, up in 17th place in his bright green BMW. Also got a bright green car in front of him too.
Indeed, the car that you said we would not miss out there. Well, as things stand, Nick Mclaughlin, previous season's champion, 21st place is not the place that he would like to start in, but consistency and finishing well is what nets you championship wins in sim racing. So we'll see what Nick can do in the Soul Ford GT in the field. pace car leading them through the turn, coming onto the back straight, and this is going to be a very difficult turn to get right. When I'm lapping at Road Atlanta, it seems I always lose time out of that corner no matter what I do. So you can imagine how the drivers in this league feel about it. It's very crucial to get the exit right for the draft down the front stretch. But down to 10A and 10B, my goodness, that's going to be a major passing zone. You can brake so late through the dip, and the drivers will be dealing with that low incident limit, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of an incident down there.
Yeah, we had a nice and clean race in the Ferrari field, all things considered. I know we had a few incidents, but the start was certainly clean. Turn 1's not normally the trouble zone here. If you do overshoot turn 1, you just go off in the grass, and sucks to be you. It's turn 3 where I'm concerned about, where the roller coaster really begins. That's where things can get a little ugly if there's no give and take. It's a 45-minute race, so hopefully there is. Vincent Trapagne already on the loud pedal. We are racing here at Road Atlanta for the start of a season. Already a spin, and we haven't even got to turn 1.
Oh goodness, that's Nathan Nicholson, and he manages to do the 360 and get back onto the circuit, but he is swallowed up by the rest of the field as they power their way through turn 1 for the first time. Vincent Trapagne leading now at the moment by 1 second over Kevin Norris, who managed to get the jump on Jorge Villegas coming out of the final turn to start the race. Oh, and Villegas, he's caught the gravel and gone for a spin out of turn 5. He just catches the wall. So that's 2 cars already having spins on lap 1 and falling down the order.
Yeah, 3 cars actually. Kyle Robertson had a moment in turn 3. He's been in the wall. And
like
I'm seeing a lot
Breton.
of... Yeah, Alexander Breton is missing the whole front clip on these 89 BMW. So a few single car incidents on the opening lap here.
Man, that is a big shame for those drivers. They all started very well, but it's just not worked out for them, as there's already moves happening down at 10A and 10B. There's Jean-Claude Langlois making his way past Fabio Scardua, and that is going to be for 7th place. Big 4-car train behind them. In terms of battles, it is on for 3rd. Luis Riedi and Dawson Brock fighting hard coming into turn 1. Then it's Matt Hilton and Vicente Sepulveda in their own battle pack. And then this 4-car train with Langlois, Scardua, Robbie Campbell. Oh dear.
Wow, yeah, we had a 3 wide moment entering turn 1, and one of the cars ended up spinning. I thought it was going to take them all out, but they got away with it.
Okay, so works out all right then in the midst of all of that. Looks like it might have been Marc-Andre Desjardins or Rafael Vieira who was involved in that. We check back in with Langlois and Scardua. They've started to break away from the drivers behind, and Fabio wants this position back.
Yeah, Matt Hilton just made a mistake exiting turn 5 there, and that cost him a position. So this is really the best passing opportunity on this track, of course, down this long back straight. Not really straight, but you get the idea. It's flat out. There's plenty of time to slipstream, draft, and try and make a move, and that's what we see him on these 2 BMWs going door to door down the hill here. Oh boy, almost rubbing fenders, and it looks like Fabio's going to win that battle for now.
Yeah, it looks to me like Langlois just let onto the brakes a little bit earlier. He knew that it wasn't worth it trying to defend that position, otherwise they'd lose too much time to Matt Hilton up ahead of them. Luis Riedi sets the fastest lap so far, 1:18.5 on the first proper racing lap of this 40-minute competition. And for now, everyone settling into single file running. They're going to have to start thinking about the pit stops soon, as check out the P13 battle. Koknin right on the back here of Michael Pabalano. It's BMW versus BMW here.
Yeah, and if you could put a monitor on that nice bright white screen behind Nin here, this is Nimwell on board, you would see another one of our onboards, Nick Mclaughlin, who has had a nice start. He's worked up his way up from 21st to 15th, one of our biggest movers so far.
Yeah, very good stuff from Nick Mclaughlin, moving up very nicely. Here's the onboard with the reigning champion from last season. That Ford has been steadily working its way up through the field. And a lot of the drivers just looking a bit relaxed. I did see Cognin have a bit of a chat and a giggle.
Oh, trouble! Matt Hilton at the
Oh.
front of the field, and these drivers are going to have to go through.
Oh, yeah.
There he is, on the right
It's down
there.
at 10B. So
He-
what on
he-
earth happened to him there?
He just lost down the braking, I think. I was worried he'd stay on the track, but you could see he was in the grass. He was out of harm's way, but still, he was up there fighting for a top 5 position. He's not anymore.
Well, here's how it happened. Hilton on the brakes a bit later, maybe got a bit spooked by the cars behind. Either way, the rear end broke free and there wasn't much he could do after that point. Manages to get back onto the track nice and safely, though.
Well, here we go, back up to 5th place, since have spread out a little bit in front of us.
Well, Vicente Sepulveda is still having to defend massively here from Fabio Scardua, who has well and truly dropped Jean-Claude Langlois. Scardua was on an excellent run of pace here. Does he have what it takes to go for the move at 10A? Well, Sepulveda's going to go defensive down here through the dip. At the inside line, and oh no, bit of contact there. Slightly alongside was Fabio Scardua, and Vicente Sepulveda instantly on the text chat to apologise to Fabio for that. Good to know that everyone's aware of their actions here. But that's created a bit of a check-up behind. It means that Christopher Rhines is going to try and make his way through on Jean-Claude Langlois behind, and Jean-Claude, he holds on around the outside of turn 1. That opens up an opportunity for the Ferrari of Robbie Campbell. Can't get up the inside of Rhines into turn 3, though.
Yes, the thing's getting dicey here in the back half of the top 10. In the opening moments of this race, they work their way into turn 5, kind of the end of a roller coaster. And we've already seen one car get it wrong earlier on during this race. See some side-by-side battles going on down the straight. Turn 6 is definitely a passing zone, but you don't want to waste too much time doing it, or turn 7 for that matter, because obviously you got a nice better run down the back straight here. Although we did see in the pro race last night, it's not as easy to pass down here as what you'd think.
Yeah, indeed, especially if you're going defensive like Devon Horvath is versus Robbie Campbell. And Campbell didn't exactly nail the exit of turn 5. That's why he's in this situation now, having to defend from this Porsche. He does get the position back, but runs a little wide in 10A, and that's going to open up the opportunity there for sure. Bit of contact, and Robbie Campbell sent off the circuit there, but I don't think there was much Devon Horvath could do in that situation.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to please Robbie Campbell, though, because now he's dropped all the way back down to 14th after he had made up quite a few positions from the start.
Have a look at Nick McLaughlin in the Ford behind these two BMWs of Cognin and Michael Pabalano. Continuing to steadily work his way up here is Nick. He's now up to 13th place, and the way these BMWs are battling, it's looking like he's going to be in with more than half a chance of getting a position somewhere down the line. Pabalano running a little bit wide over the curb out of turn 5, opens up an opportunity for Cognin into turn 6, but he's not far up enough to go for it there. Maybe he will at turn 7. He gets up the inside there and gets the move done, and Pabalano runs nice and wide. Nick McLaughlin has to back out of any potential move there just to stay moving forward, but it looks like he might have a run here on the Bastos livery BMW.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to get a slipstream. I don't think it's going to work out for him that far back. By the way, oh, there we go, car down the inside. Oh, there we go.
Well, that's one way for him to get past Michael Pabalano, isn't it? But I'm not too sure Pabalano's going to be too happy with that BMW of Jose Malbran.
Yeah, you might want to identify which... Ooh, 4 wide!
Oh, no. Oh, please don't. Too wide.
Not
By
going
too
to.
wide. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm going to say we might want to identify which BMW it is, because I just looked down the top 10, 7 BMWs in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems that the BMWs are looking very strong in the race conditions here. Of course, yeah, it was Malbran who went up the inside of Nick McLaughlin and tapped around Mr. Pabalano. The BMW is looking very strong here at the front of the field. The Ferrari, also a reasonably popular option with plenty of Ferraris out there as well.
Yeah, as a Ferrari fan in Formula One, I've became a little bit doubtful that they can get wins nowadays, but it was nice to see a Ferrari get a win in our first race of this broadcast. I wasn't sure that would happen. But here we go, a nice race going on down the back straight.
Yes, indeed. Some fantastic battling that's going on in this field. This is for the last few positions inside the top 20. The Lamborghini there, driven by Philippe Magnan, and he's gone straight into the wall.
And back out!
Goodness me. He's got to get off the racing line as soon as possible, and he's going straight for the pits. If anything, that's a pretty convenient place to have an incident like that. It means he can immediately go in and get that damage repaired. Here is a view of that incident.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the close call we saw where he kind of backed out, bounced out back across the circuit, and Richard Swindell's kind of got lucky, kept to the left enough just to avoid him.
Oh, that was lucky.
Now, I wonder, well, first off, he doesn't have a free repair, so I'm sure he's going to be in for extensive damage repairs here, but I am wondering if he can get enough fuel at this point to make it to the end.
Yeah, it's not that long into the race, is it? We're only a quarter of the way through, really. So with the fuel tank restriction, you'd think that drivers would be pitting more around the very middle of the race onwards, maybe leaving it right to the end if they're feeling pacey on the tyres they've got. So, yeah, unclear if Philippe Magnan will have to come into the pits for a second time, but with the amount of damage he's taken, he's going to be spending a lot of time in the pits, and he might end up having to complete a few laps less than everyone else. So he might be fine on fuel, but certainly not in terms of positions. He would have been hoping for a lot better out of that as we look at the number 87 of Vincent Trapagne. Again, another driver tonight that has shown to be the class of the field, but Kevin Norris is starting to chip away at that gap. It's out at 1.5 seconds now, and it seems to be stable. So there's a chance that Kevin Norris could be a surprise pick for the lead here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it definitely doesn't seem like Vincent has this in the bag. He still has a lot of pressure from behind. Looking up and down the order, of course, one of the drivers that has definitely gone in the wrong direction so far has been George Villadras after he spun on the opening lap. Fortunately, he was one of our spinners who was able to continue without much damage, and he is still turning laps back around there in 34th position. We had 41 starters. We still have 40 cars on the lead, 36 cars rather on the lead lap, and 2 of them battling for position right here. 6th place as they work their way over the crest, down the hill. I always think this is fun. I've never done a race on Road Atlanta in real life, but I got to imagine that's something sim racing can't give you right there that real life can. Going over that crest in the final turn, just feeling that drop into the final turn.
Yeah, it's a spectacular track, is Road Atlanta. It seems, Darrell Waltrip called the Mount Panorama circuit down here in Australia a geological oddity, and I think Road Atlanta is pretty much the same. The fact that it follows the terrain, rises and dives like it is, makes it a very spectacular track, as that's Nick Mclaughlin having it off in the S's. That's not what our reigning champion will want. We'll get a replay of that and see how it worked out. This is very much a single line affair here through the S's, Sam, and it looks like Mclaughlin still carrying a bit of damage already to that rear end. So, oh, goodness me. Was that a slide he had to correct? Did something happen earlier? That's not good for Nick Mclaughlin, and you can see he's having a bit of trouble keeping control of that thing.
Yeah, again, Road Atlanta, much like Summit Point, isn't the most aerodynamically dependent track, but I don't think that's Nick's biggest problem there. That the back end is so heavily damaged that you've got to imagine the car's not handling right, and at this track, that's a problem, especially on the first half of the circuit where the track continually goes left, right, left, right, left, right. If you have a car that's not willing to cooperate, you're not going to stay on course.
I'm going back a couple of laps and I can't see where Nick Mclaughlin picked up that damage. So that's a bit of a mystery there. Either way, it seems that his pace is not exactly what it used to be, losing a couple of positions. He's now in 15th place.
And Vincent's lead is not exactly what it used to be. He's caught a little bit of lap traffic here. He was flashing his headlights. That third car in line is actually a lap car. He was flashing his headlights saying, get out of my way. I don't want to get held up because Caven Norris is less than a second behind me.
Yeah, the gap's down to 0.7 of a second now, and you can see right there how much Caven Norris has been making up on Vincent Trapagne. Just a little bit every lap, 0.3 slower on lap 9, but that's a big gain that he took on lap 10. So this is some good work that Caven Norris is putting in this early stage of the race. It'll put him in a fantastic place for the pit stops as he gained 0.4 on that lap there.
Trouble for 13th. Rafael Vieira has been spun.
Oh dear.
He was side by side, I believe, with Desjardins.
Okay, so that's at the exit of 10A and 10B. He was side by side with Marc-André Desjardins, and that was side by side contact. Desjardins was being passed into 10A, and he kept it alongside into 10B with Rafael turning in almost as if he wasn't there. Let's see how it played out here. Vieira, well, he was mostly ahead, but there was still some overlap. He probably could have afforded to give him a little more room, but I don't know who's going to be determined at fault for that. Maybe Desjardins.
The battle for the lead still rages on, less than half a second between the competitors. Also, fourth place. Right now, there's a pass going on behind these guys. Dawson Brock has been passed by Fabio Scardua. That's much cleaner.
Yeah, it is indeed. Scardua continuing his rise through the field here. He's now halved his position gap to the lead that was at the start with the 1:19.4 on that lap, putting it in very nicely. So now we're getting towards the middle phase of the race, and the drivers are going to have to start thinking about pit stops. And with Caven Norris as close as he is, if he plays this strategy game right, he might be able to move past Vincent Trapagne in the pit cycle.
Yeah, we mentioned the lap car a moment ago. That must have been a car who had been involved in an incident at some point, because there's not a whole lot of lap traffic at this point. So good news for the leaders. They shouldn't be getting held up too much. Obviously, we started this race with 40 minutes on the clock. We're down pretty much to the halfway point there. So pitting now shouldn't be much of an issue. You should be able to pit, get enough fuel, and make it to the end. But while there's no lap traffic, as long as no one's holding you up, I can foresee these leaders going for a little bit longer.
So we check out Paul Espina, who we saw a bit earlier, having a couple of issues. He's started recovering well. He's working his way back up here. And I marvel at the webcam feed that we've got for him. A proper multicam setup that he's got here. We can look at his inputs directly as well, with those two pedals in the bottom left corner of the bottom right corner of your screen.
I'm fascinated by the light.
Yeah,
you're not gonna know when to miss a shift there, are you?
Absolutely. Nice big bold typeface. Is that
in front of him?
Ahead? Oh my goodness! And involved in that is Nick Mclaughlin. He came together with Marc-André Desjardins.
You can see.
Another car involved.
And Nick Toes.
He's out. McLaughlin's out. Oh man, that is a huge shame for last season's champion. It's not the start to a title defense that anyone wants. Either way, that was quite the spin, I think, coming into turn one. What on earth went on there?
We might be able to get a replay. Saw more cars piling in after that too. But we also, here we go. We might be able to pull it up for you. We know Nick did have damage.
This is going to be unfortunate. Nick Mclaughlin was a completely innocent victim here. Marc-André Desjardins slid into turn one and came back onto the track in front of Nick. And that's how the accident ended up happening.
So that's 2 cars. So what happens behind them? Yeah,
me.
can't tell
One
if
of the
they got.
Porsches.
Well, that's a much slower speed incident. They still towed. Oh,
Oh.
and the car that Mclaughlin tangled with there kind of did an unsafe re-entry.
Yeah, ever so
But
slightly.
yeah, we're back to live action now, and rightfully so, because we've got some battles shaping up here, including this battle for 5th place between Dawson Brock and Vincent Trapagne.
Yes, indeed. Looks like Luis Riedi has worked out really well too, running in 3rd place as it's side by side with lap traffic. Fabio Scardua up ahead of these two as well. What can Sepulveda do on Dawson Brock for P5? On the inside, coming into 10A and 10B, that looks like a reasonably textbook move. Still gives Dawson a bit of room through 10B, but he was well and truly ahead by that point.
And we hit halfway in the race as the drivers start lap number 16. So this is probably going to end up being about 31 laps, but of course it's a timed race, so who knows. It's 1.5 seconds between our 2 leaders. They've got about a 5-second lead over Luis Reedy there in 3rd place, who likewise has a 5-second lead over the rest of the field. 4th on back is where things get a little bit spicy.
Indeed, Scardua 2 seconds ahead of this now 3-way battle for P5. With Sepulveda ahead of Brock, ahead of Jean-Claude Langlois. And it seems that the BMWs are looking very strong in race conditions. It seems that the further in we get, the quicker the BMWs are. So for the other brands involved in this, it's probably going to be a question of making positions up in the pit cycle. Now that we're truly in the dark, things are a little bit difficult for drivers that have had an incident. I'm looking at Alexandre Breton. He, of course, had an incident before and is missing his front end. That means he has no headlights, and that's not exactly optimal.
Yeah, no, in real life, this definitely would not fly whatsoever.
Thank goodness the extra night lighting was added to Road Atlanta in the previous build, so he can at least see some of where he's going.
Mind you, I've been driving around Atlanta for a while. This is normal for some cars I see driving at night.
Oh dear.
Yeah, another driver who ran into early trouble, who unfortunately ran into more trouble, is George Velledra. As I mentioned how he had got going again, was still on the lead lap, but it looks like he's been involved in another incident because he's been down in the pits for a little while for an extended pit stop. So unfortunate there, after qualifying 2nd place, he's going to come out with a pretty poor result.
Yeah, it's not going to be a happy day there for Villegas. He certainly had what it took to fight for the win, were it not for a mistake made by himself on the 1st lap. Right on board with Langlois, meanwhile, in the draft of Dawson Brock, and making up momentum down the straight. Making up a lot of time, but not close enough again to make the move into 10A and 10B. He's going to have to wait a while. And of course, we do still have pit stops coming up. We have seen quite a few drivers already in the pits as, oh dear, that's Sepulveda. Oh dear, having an off at the final turn.
It's not unusual. It's a very tricky corner. I mean, well, most of the time it's not, but when you get it wrong, it certainly can be.
Tangled with lap traffic, actually. Look at this.
It's coming way too hot on him, and then used what little runoff area there is. Actually, he did a masterful job at controlling that car, because that could have ended in a crash in a few different ways.
Yeah, certainly could have. And lap car in question, David Morse, he's struggling out there, struggling to let guys by through the 1st sector as well, but it looks like the vast majority of them have kept it clean there. As we check out Christopher Rhines and Gabriel Moreau battling for 8th and 9th here. And Still not close enough to go for a move at 10A and 10B, but if Gabriel can nail that first sector and get in the draft, he might be able to break the BMW stranglehold on this race.
Yeah, well, with that regard, Dawson Brock is doing a nice position, now up in 5th place. Entering the closing stages of this race now, only about 15 minutes left to go, and still most of the cars not in the pits, and as I say that, here they come.
Jose Malbran bringing his BMW in, and we'll get our eye into what a scheduled pit stop is like. We've had quite a few cars come into the pits so far. This is the first of one of our top runners who's decided to come in. Pit stop times I'm seeing about 10 to 15 seconds, and that's a very quick one there for Jose Malbran. 12 seconds, pretty much right in the middle of the range that we've been seeing. Rafael Vieira comes into the pits behind him, so I think in the next few laps, pit lane's going to be a hive of activity for the top 10.
The top 10 is approaching the pits right now. Vincent Trapagne is out. Caven Norris stays out, and then you have to wait a few seconds before you get to 3rd place. Luis Riedi, who is also staying out, so none of the top 10 making a move into the pits for now. Dawson Brock leading a little pack of cars for 5th, 6th and 7th. But in front of him, honestly, things a little bit spread out, but not too much. We have a spinner in the final turn, Jason Burmeister, who's parked in the middle of a circuit right now. Fortunately, is able to get back on the grass before anyone sideswipes him through that high-speed corner.
We'll take another look at it on the replay then. Here he is. Jason Burmeister was running down in the high 20s in terms of positions. What on earth happened to him here? Kept it nice and clean through 10A and 10B. But this final turn, yeah, there we go. Just running a bit too far over the curb, and my goodness, that is a very difficult spot. The driver's very lucky that it happened when it did, otherwise that could have been a lot worse than it was. Still might be considered an unsafe re-entry there in the final turn.
And this time our leader comes in. Vincent Trapagne is bringing his number 87 BMW into the pits. Really the first time it's slowed down today. He was holding a 4-second lead, and there we go though. Looks like Caven was much late on the brakes. Much more aggressive on pit entry.
Yeah, the gap remains at 4 seconds as they make their way through the lane. We'll see how quick each other's stop is. Was Caven Norris able to save a bit of fuel behind Vincent Trapagne and shorten his stop time? We'll find out in just a few seconds. 12.4 seconds stopped for Trapagne, 12.8 seconds stopped for Caven Norris, so no position change there. But now they've loaded fuel back into the car. The gap is a little bit larger now.
Yeah, and the nice news for both of them, though, more for Vincent, is that as they rejoin the circuit, there's really not a whole lot of traffic for them to deal with.
Well, that certainly helps. They can get right back up to race pace very quickly. Luis Riedi is the one leading at the moment overall. Still has yet to come into the pits, as well as everyone down to Robbie Campbell. Also Matt Hilton and Gabriel Naone, with Bowie Suen also not coming into the pits so far. Luis Riedi is bringing it through into pit lane now, and it looks like maybe not the most aggressive pit entry I've ever seen, but oftentimes you do end up getting a result by staying out of trouble, and that's how he does it. Following him into the pits is Fabio Scardua.
Yeah, I was almost concerned that Luis had ran out of fuel there. He was coming in so gingerly, but as you mentioned, he was probably just trying to keep it out of trouble. But as a result, that puts a lot of people on his rear wing that probably he wouldn't have otherwise had to have worried about. No tyres, of course, for these drivers. They should be able to make it to the end. And you can see all those names without... Oh, as I say that, Riedi's gone up on the tracks. He must have forgotten to deselect tyres.
Oh dear. That's going to cost him an awful lot of time. He's already dropped 3 positions in the pits as Christopher Rhines, Jean-Claude Langlois and Gabriel Moreau make their way past him. And He's off the jacks now. What's going on here for Luis Riedi? He's stopped for far sight longer than I expected. Maybe he had a speeding penalty or something like that.
He might have forgot to deselect concession stands or bathroom break as well. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but he's finally gotten back out. But the problem is, with only 10 minutes left on the clock, he's lost a lot of time, and he doesn't have a lot of time to catch it all up.
Maybe his mechanics took a bit of a cigarette break in the middle of that stop. Not too sure, but either way, Riedi has fallen quite a ways back with not much time left to make up those positions. It's a big shame for him, but it does promote the likes of Sepulveda, Dawson Brock and Gabriel Moreau up into the top 5. Langlois, Rhines, Nin and Malbran rounding out the rest of your top 10. Trapagne and Norris still leading the charge here as, oh dear, that's a problem for Michael Pabilano. And that Bastos liveried BMW has been in the wars today. That looks to be a spin at the exit of turn 5.
Yeah, I think if I recall, we got some help with his first spin. He didn't have any help with that one, though.
Rear end broke free on entry, which is something we've seen with a couple of the BMWs today. Seems like it's a fast car, but if there's even a slight loss of grip in the rear, then you're going around, despite the ABS that these cars have, and traction control as well. So, here's the battle for 5th. Dawson Brock fending off Gabriel Moreau. Porsche versus Ferrari, one of the longest standing battles in sports car racing.
Absolutely. I think one of my favourite Porsche versus Ferrari battles, I forget what year it was, probably around 2014, or was it when they were at VIR, and that went down to the last lap between, it was a Falcon tyre Porsche and the Risi Competizione Ferrari. I forget who the drivers were, but that was a real nice battle if you ever want to look at one up on YouTube. And we just heard there, Gabriel Moreau sounded like he was clutching on the entry to the chicane, so he might have taken a little bit less fuel to try and have a quicker pit stop, but trying to save fuel up there, out there by the end of a race. We'll see how that pays out for him.
Well, he's got the draft of Dawson Brock, so that will allow him to stay in touch with the guys ahead and also lift off the throttle a little bit earlier, but hopefully he has enough to make it to the end from here. It would be absolutely heartbreaking for Gabriel if he ended up running out of fuel at the end, because he's on a fantastic run at the moment, from 18th all the way up to 6th. In terms of our biggest movers in the field, looks like Claude Belval is the biggest mover. He's up 26 positions from where he started. That's actually outside the top 40. So this is
he didn't turn it up in qualifying. He started dead last. But you're talking about big gainers. Big gainer that lap was Kevin Norris. I don't know what happened to our leader, but the gap was 3 seconds. It's now down to 1.5. Hopefully for Vincent's sake, he just ran into some lap traffic. It held him up a little bit or made a mistake, and Kevin took a chunk of time out. But we'll see. That this might not be over yet. There's still lap traffic ahead of Vincent here.
I just caught what happened to Vincent Trapagne. He made his way past lap traffic very nicely, but he overshot a little bit into turn 3, took out a few cones on the way too, so that's why the gap has gone down a bit. Oh dear, Sepulveda's run into another issue here. Oh no, and he's fallen down the order. There's another car involved in that as well as that Burmeister. It is. What's going on here? This is at the start of the lap.
I think we'll see a mistake here, maybe, from Sepulveda. He does have... Oh, no!
Oh, okay.
A holy car wreck before he ever got there. Yeah, so let's get with Burmeister here, see if we can find out what happened with Burmeister and a couple other cars that kind of triggered all this.
So battling with a fellow BMW through turn 1. What happens to Burmeister on the exit of the corner? Nothing. It looks like there's a car coming out of the pits.
Oh, he overshoots.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh man, that's a huge incident there. And all started by just overshooting turn 3 a little bit. So I think Burmeister probably apologising to a few people at the moment. I'm sure that there was no malice or intention behind that incident, but still, it's something that you don't really want to see. It makes sense that the drivers wouldn't have much time to avoid it, though, because turn 3 is blind. So not much of a chance there, as there's a very big train here in the battle for 5th.
Yeah, and Semmelweis towed to the pits. So this begins with Rhines in 5th position, Brock in 6th place, Lanois in 7th position, ahead of Niche, who we, of course, Nin, rather, who, of course, we have the onboard with, running back there in 8th place. Let's see if we can get a different perspective of this battle in the closing 5 minutes.
This is a great view on board from Koknin. 7th, 6th and 5th ahead of him in a train. And it looks like that's a pass being made by Jean-Claude Langlois on Dawson Brock. They get on the brakes as late as they can. They're running side by side, and Nin has a great view of this action. Will he be able to take advantage of the final turn? He will. He gets up the inside of Jean-Claude Langlois, just checking in his mirrors and off to his side to see if he's gotten it done. And he almost gets the move done on Dawson Brock as well. This is a very tight battle coming into turn 1. Nin's going to have to go defensive into the first turn here. Have a look at Langlois with a bit more momentum around the exit. This is fantastic racing.
And you can definitely tell with that virtual reality headset, all the looking around he has to do. Have you ever raced one of those, Reese?
Yep, I have given a couple of virtual reality headsets a try at the house of some other sim racers that live here in Perth, Western Australia, as that's a bit of a problem there for Nin. He's probably going to get passed back here by Langlois at turn 6. Does indeed,
Oh!
And they're between them, and Nin is off. Unfortunately, virtual reality not helping him too much there. If there's a car on the inside going for a move and they end up understeering into you, there's not much you can do no matter what equipment you have.
Yeah, the virtual reality, though, would have helped him rejoin the circuit there, check over his right shoulder to make sure there was no oncoming traffic. I'm sure he wasn't too happy, though. We weren't on board with him at the time the incident happened, but our lip readers, I'm sure, would not have appreciated it.
I'm certain. But yeah, I have tried VR, and I understand why it's so popular. For someone like me, though, I tend to prefer triple screens, personally. I do wear glasses, and they're pretty big glasses, so not every virtual reality headset is good for me. We'll see where the technology goes, though. You might see me on VR a bit more in the coming years.
Alright, one thing Trapagne might see in the coming, well, not years, but minutes here, is a car in his mirror of Caven Norris. Although, as I say that, you can see the gap increasing as they go down the straight. Looks like Caven did not get a good exit out of turn number 7. So what's the time going to be left on the clock as Vincent comes to the line here? As what's happened to Dawson Brock? Yeah, it looks like Dawson Brock may have had an off.
Yeah, looks like it, and that's at turn 6. He's done that by himself, unfortunately. The rear end broke free under braking, coming off the curb. Check out another look at it here on the replay. He makes it through turn 6 nicely, but then coming into turn 7, the rear end just goes on the turn in, and there's nothing he can do to save that. The Porsche, with its flat 6 engine hanging out over the rear axle, once the rear end swings free, the momentum just carries it.
And for a car that's running in the top 10, that does not look too pretty right now. He's got a few dins and dents out there, but doing a good job to hold it up there. So, I was trying to keep an eye on what the time on the clock was when Vincent Trapagne crossed the line, and unfortunately, it's inconclusive. He crossed the line right at the point where I do not know if he's coming to the white flag or 2 to go here. It's going to be right on the edge. And normally, I think when it is that case, iRacing adds the other lap. I think we're going to see him come to 2 to go here.
You know, I think yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's About a 1 minute 8 second lap here. It looks like he might just make it across in time with a minute and 15 seconds, a minute 16 to go. It is going to be...
Yeah, look at his last lap of 1:18. So, yes, I'm not sure even... I mean, well, he'll know. The sim will have told him if he got the white flag or not.
As Malbran makes a move there for 6th place, passing Jean-Claude Langlois. On another recovery there is Malbran and Langlois. They work themselves out very nicely. And, yeah, is this going to be the final lap? Is the big question. Vincent Trapagne, I think he has enough of a lead here that even if there's an extra lap to go, he has what it takes to keep Caven Norris behind him.
Yeah, I'm normally more concerned about fuel in this regards. Well, if it is the final lap, Vincent Trapagne has done the hard work because he's got 1 lap car ahead of him here, but he also is holding a 2-second lead. And you'll see how the graphic on the top left corner will change to a checkered flag if that indeed is presented to Vincent as he comes down the hill here. The clock will expire, and there is the checkered flag. Vincent Trapagne through the final turn, crosses the line, and is a victor here at Road Atlanta.
From pole position, leading all the way. A fantastic drive from Vincent Trapagne, but it's still on for 6th place. Can Jean-Claude Langlois pass Jose Malbran in the final couple of corners? He's getting closer, but it looks like Malbran has everything he needs to make the run across the line down the hill. Even if he runs out of fuel at this point, he can still use the downhill for extra momentum. And there we go. Malbran ending up finishing in 6th after starting from 16th. There's, oh no.
Oh, problems for Dawson Brock, yeah. Hey, let's jump back to Eduardo Lorento in 19th, because this has been getting spicy. Him and Rafael Vieira have been banning fenders in the last couple of turns for this 19th position. They want it.
Oh, let's see who comes out on top then. Lorente and Vieira. The contact continues between the BMW and the Ferrari. Neither of them are giving an inch. Forced to the inside. The number 40 of Eduardo Lorente ends up spinning around, and they both go into the wall at the final turn. Crossing the line first is going to be Rafael Vieira. But I don't think Lorente is going to be very happy with that final lap there.
Come on, he can make it. He can make it. He's going to cross the line last car on the lead lap by 23rd.
Oh, man. Well, we're going to check back to see what happened to Dawson Brock. There's the final turn. Oh, goodness me. It's going to be something for the drivers to work out. You see the battle there earlier on in the lap as well.
Yeah. Okay, Dawson Brock on the final lap
83.
here.
Not too sure if we can pick up Dawson Brock. Oh, there we go. It was a spin at 10A and 10B, and it looks like he might have come together with another car as well. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so he would have been running in 10th place here. So is this Paul Espina, the 27?
Potentially. Brock going defensive. He might have run out of fuel, and oh, they just come together in the braking zone, and Dawson Brock sent spearing across the racetrack.
Well, a lot of drama in the closing moments there, and a few drivers came out on the short side, Dawson Brock and Eduardo Lorente, 2 of those. But man, some great racing up front and throughout the field. Vincent Trapagne comes home your race winner. We'll have a chance to talk to some of our top finishers in just a moment.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Hello and welcome back to Road Atlanta, where we just witnessed 40 minutes of action-packed racing here to kick off the PRL GT AM series for 2021 Season 4, and the race winner was Vincent Trapagne, so a sweep for Canadians during the broadcast. Kevin Norris came home in second place, way ahead of Fabio Scardua, back in third position. Gabriel Moreau finishes in fourth ahead of Christopher Rines. Jose Malbrand finished in sixth place, up from 16th on the grid. Actually, give a shout out to Gabriel Moreau up in fourth with that regards. He started 18th. Jean-Claude Delannoy finished in 7th position ahead of Robbie Campbell, and David Horvath in 9th place. And how about Paul Espina, 26th to 10th?
Anderson Schmidt also made up 20 positions to finish in 11th, and Claude Belval making up 29 positions to finish in 12th. A fantastic drive there after not qualifying. Luis Riedi comes home lucky 13th, with Kok Nin coming home in 14th, though he was definitely on for a top 10 were it not for the incident that we saw him have. Matt Hilton rounds out the top 15. Then it's Lucio Vargas, Dom Bowden, Gabriel Naoni up to 18th. The top 20 rounded out by Ethan Tabatas and Michael Pabalano, who we saw having a few offs there today.
Dawson Brock had that big off at the end of the race, pushed him all the way back to 21st position ahead of Rafael Vieira. Last car to limp across the line in the beat and battered number 40 machine was Eduardo Lorente. Sure, he wasn't too pleased about that, but made for some exciting viewing for us. Richard Swindells comes home in 24th place, the first car lap down ahead of Rodrigo Morales. Bowie Swan finishes in 26th position ahead of Philippe Magnan. Nathan Nicholson is back in 28th, and then Vincent Sepulveda, and then David Morse. We'll bring the last page up here for you, but unfortunately I think these drivers would prefer to forget today's race, and obviously a couple of big names there. Nick McLaughlin down in 35th, and George Villedras, who started second place, finished 38th. But I believe we've called up with Kevin Norris here, our second place finisher. Kevin, decent finish. How happy are you with that? Because there were a couple of moments it looked like you could be up for the win.
Yeah, very, very happy with the finish. I did a lot of practice with my teammate, but yeah, Trapagne was so fast. Got a lot of great exit, but he was a little bit too fast for me was hard to keep up the pace with him.
Now, this race was a bit unique in that we raced into the night. How tricky was it having 40 cars out there on circuit with lap traffic and, there weren't any safety car periods or anything, so it looked like there were a couple of sketchy moments out there.
Not that bad for me. It was pretty clean, the whole race. Like I said, did a lot of practice, even in the night, so no, it was fine on my side.
We noticed that the BMWs were doing quite well, a lot of BMWs at the front of the field. Was there something about this car that just worked well at this track?
I think the way the car feels on the track, it feels safe on it when you take an exit. The car feels good on the track. I'd say a little bit easier than some of other cars, so that's why maybe in the amateur series, the BMW is the reason everyone's driving it.
Well, you got a great finish here to open up the season, second place. Are we going to see you throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I'll do everything I can to stay on the podium.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing if you can pull that off going forward. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
My teammates, my teammate Alexandre Breton. Helped me a lot. It's pretty new. It's been a year for SimRacing, and that guy helped me a lot. And with Guillaume Lévesque and Phil Bouchard too, giving some advice, it helps a lot.
All right. Well, again, thanks for coming to talk to us, and best of luck next race. Maybe we'll see you on the top step.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was Caven Norris, our second place finisher. And Rees, you have caught up with another driver who finished up on the lead lap. Apologies, a bit of a technical difficulty for Rees. So, Krug, here you are. You finished 14th place. You started 17th. You had a couple of hairy moments out there. How was it overall?
Overall, I really enjoyed the race, mainly because it was in the dark, and coming from 17th, fighting my way all the way up to, I think it was 8th to 7th, and then I was able to pull away, but the incident had happened right there, and then I lost it, and pushed me back to 11th or 10th place.
Yeah, we definitely saw a lot of incidents out there today. Some of them self-induced, some of them a result of bad luck. What was trickier out there today? How bad were the driving conditions, and how bad was the traffic?
The traffic was pretty bad in the beginning. I just really knew I just wanted to take it easy the first couple of laps to see what the drivers are going to be like, how they drive, so that way I can stay consistent and drive safe. And then as the traffic cleared up, I was able to push it. But the hardest thing for me was when the sunset started setting in and the moment it started shifting to night racing. That was when I started having a little bit of issues. But then, after the sunset and completely dark, I got back my rhythm.
Now, how satisfied are you with your 14th place finish? I know you said you were up there in the top 10, but we saw a few big names who had very disappointing races today. Do you think this was a nice way to start off your season?
Yeah, in the very beginning to mid race, I had a really fun time just fighting my way up to that spot. But like I said before, an incident did happen, which kind of just threw me off, which that's, to me, when I watched the replay, it was just a moment of bad luck. It wasn't the other driver's fault or anything. I just had the bad luck to where his rear ended, tapped me, and made me lose control.
All right. So what are your thoughts going forward, heading into the second round?
The second round, I'm pretty excited for it. I don't think I have practiced on that track before, so...
Yes, Motegi, correct?
Yeah, so during the time of this, the week before the round 2, I'll probably be practicing on a lot.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck to the next race. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Just my team for the help of spotting me, PRL, and you guys for hosting the broadcast.
Oh, we appreciate it. Well, we look forward to seeing you back next round, and hopefully a bit better luck there next time.
Sir, see you next round.
All right, well, we got one more interview lined up, and Reese, are you back here to interview Nick Mclaughlin?
I am indeed. Apologies, I had a bit of a technical glitch there that booted me out. But Nick Mclaughlin, last season's champion, your title defense didn't get off to the best start, but it was still a very eventful race for you.
Yeah, it's not the start we hoped for in a championship defense season, but it happens. It's racing. So we'll look north from here, I guess.
You decided to go for the Ford for this season, and it seems you're in a very small minority in the field. The majority of drivers going for the BMW. Why did you select the Ford GT?
It's to have some fun, have it something a little different. I like to be the standout car. I think last season as well in the Ferrari, I was one of 4 Ferraris. But I knew with the release of the Evo there'd be a couple more out there, so we changed it up to have some fun.
Still keeping it mid-engined though, which would certainly help you around a track like Road Atlanta, which is very dependent on a car that handles properly.
Yep. The only issue with the Ford I found around here is really bouncy. It was hard to get traction, especially through that first sector. I struggled so much going through there. Wound up in the grass a couple times. I don't know. It wasn't definitely not my strongest circuit, and we would have been nice for a better result, but.
Oh, well, with you do talk about those bouncing and traction issues. I don't think you'll be having as many problems next round at Motegi as you did here. It's a bit of a different track to Road Atlanta, very smooth, and the curbs are nice and flat too, so it should suit the Ford nicely.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're looking forward to Motegi. Put some laps in there already, and we'll aim to be fighting up there with Vincent. We bumped around with him a lot last season. Really excited to see him take the win here, and hope to be back up there with him next week.
Certainly hope that we get another chance to talk to you as well, Nick. But before we let you go, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I give a shout out to my wife. We're actually expecting a kid coming here in the coming weeks, so she's allowed me to sit here and race instead, which is nice.
Oh, big congratulations to you and your significant other, Nick. That's Nick Mclaughlin there, the previous season's champion with not the greatest race here at Road Atlanta, but could certainly come up in the next few rounds of the season with the skill that he has under his belt. Well, Sam, I think that brings to an end proceedings for tonight.
Yeah, it does. And honestly, a little bit of an incident-packed race here at Road Atlanta, but it's to be expected, I think, with season openers. Honestly, I was surprised by how clean our Ferrari race went at Summit Point. But at the end of the day, 2 very deserved winners and a great way to kick off a season. This broadcast would not be possible without the support of our sponsors, beginning with ASR, who design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. You can visit them at advancedsimracing.com. Also, RaceLab, which helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebutkicker.com. Tonight's broadcast was also brought to you by SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at simsa.net. And last but definitely not least, NinjaTrader. You can visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. We would like to thank all of the organisers and the competitors in the Premier Racing League for coming out all season long and putting on some great shows here to start the season. Additional thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, and you can see those listed on your screen today, including June Lalonde, who provides us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Reese, Joe and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, or Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The PRL GT AM series will be back in action the same time next week with round 2 at the Red Bull Ring for the Ferraris and Motegi for the GT race. All of our upcoming races for our other series are listed on your screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.